AI tools for efficiency. What we're going to cover today is Google Gemini. I'm going to go over the idea of what Google Gemini gems are and how that can save you time. And I'm going to show you Notebook LM. We're going to go over best practices for AI very, very briefly because we always say this in anyone that we ever do. Always review AI generated content, regardless of how good AI is getting, and it's getting much, much better. So always make sure that you review your stuff. It can be biased sometimes, so be more specific in your prompts if you don't want it to be biased. Point number two, always, always, always edit your stuff. We always say an 80-20 rule at least. Let AI do 80% of the work, but you have to go back and reread it and check it for 20%. And most of the things, especially in Gemini, are all customizable. So customize it for what your staff needs, what you need, that kind of stuff. Number three, keep personal data and information safe. Don't include or share personal identifiable information. Now, that being said, some people at my data session were like, well, then we shouldn't ever use ChatGPT. We shouldn't ever use Gemini. Gemini is inside our school accounts. So the Gemini version that we have does not use data and doesn't use data as a data point. So this is another reason that we sort of push for using Gemini. I mean, I would still be careful, but this is where you could upload some information or upload a sheet to ask it for data resources. I'm still very careful with that. And so I'll just, if I'm uploading a sheet, take out like emails, or I will take out full names. But that is one of the bigger differences between Gemini. It's walled gardens and APS. ChatGPT is not. Think about prompts. I'm actually going to throw that slightly out the window today because prompts are a little bit different when you're working within Google Workspace. So I'll talk about that. But if you're ever using Google Gemini for specific purposes to get things, even inside Notebook LM, say who you are, say the action you want it to complete, say who you want this thing to be for. So for example, say I am a fourth grade teacher who is looking for ideas for differentiation and accelerated learning with students in fourth grade for English language arts, because that's the recipient. So the PAR is the most important part. You can say add in middle school slang, and then you can say put that in a chart or graph format. That's the structure. Those two little parts are bonuses. I've also added in like what those mean. The things we're going to work with today is Gemini in conjunction with Google Workspace. We have Google Gems today as well, and then Notebook LM. So the first one we're going to start with is Gemini. If you have never used Gemini before, you can go to gemini.google.com. It should now be in the Google Apps waffle. Here it is in my Gemini. The first time you use it, it's going to ask you to start chat with Gemini. It's going to make you walk through things, promise basically that you're going to do those things I just said, that you're not going to put in personal identifiable information, that you understand that it isn't absolutely 100% accurate, and you're going to get to this screen. On the bottom of your Gemini, do you guys see how it has settings and help? Okay, so we're going to start in settings and help today. There is a space called apps. You have to scroll down. They now have productivity within Google Gemini that allow Google Workspace tools to work inside Google Gemini. So now you can tie in your Gmail, your calendar, your Google Docs, your Google Drive, your Google Tasks, and your Google Keep. If you want to learn more about what it can do and can't do, there's a little button here that says learn more. Just understand that there are some limitations now. It's growing all the time, but this is where you can learn more about what it does. I would toggle that on. So I have mine on, and now I'm going to show you what that looks like and what that means. Gemini is a large language model, which basically means you can talk to it and have conversations with it. Now, it's different than like being inside Gmail and having AI work. It's working from gemini.google.com. Here's what we're going to do today. So I'm going back to my slide deck. I just added in here that we're going to start out with settings, apps, turn it on. So I'm going through everything I'm doing. It's all going to be in the slide deck. The way that I structured this for our live demo today, I framed this around like PD and coaching and that kind of stuff, because I figured we'd have more teaching and learning coaches. But no worries, because you can do this with any type of prompt you want. This is just the one that I built out for today. Okay, we're going to go through kind of a live scenario. We're going to start with one thing, building off of it. Okay, so the first thing that I want to show you is that you can pull straight from your Google Drive. You just put this little @ symbol in here. And then you say at, and this menu is going to pop up. But I've created these resources that are coaching notes. I have back here transcripts and like a data cycle summary. So this may be something that you've done. And I could go here and I could copy and paste it in. But in Gemini now, I'm actually going to close this space. Inside the prompt, you type the at symbol. At, this menu is going to pop up. And I'm going to say at Google Drive. I want a summary of the documents in my Google Drive that are the data cycle summary, the coaching notes, and my coaching, let's see how well it does, conversation transcript. Now, a lot of times it does much better when you type out the exact title, but I don't want to do that today. So I added this into my very first Google Gemini prompt. I added at Google Drive to say search my drive. I said specifically what I want it to do. I'm going to say I am looking for PD ideas, so frame it that way. Notice usually sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. The icon here is going to change either to a Google Drive or sometimes see it'll say Google Workspace. It says I've summarized all this stuff. So PD idea 1 is deepening rigor with questioning strategies, and why it gave me evidence for that. Hey, the root causes, the coaching notes, the transcript, the student engagement and structured accountable talk, and then it talks about targeted small group instruction. Okay, so here's the first step is I said pull out from your drive. I gave you the summary. I gave you the docs if you wanted to play with it later. Now, the other thing that this can do, and it's different. So this is why I put it in the slide deck. Step 2 is I want it to analyze Sheets data. You can't pull it from at Sheets, which I'm waiting for, but it's not there, or at Drive, find my sheet. For some reason, Sheets are the thing, but you can still in Google Gemini use this plus button. But I'm going to go up here, or up here, down here to the plus sign, and you can add straight from your drive. Let's say you created a teacher needs survey where you talk to your teachers at your school and you said, hey, what are some of the things you have? What are some things? And they fill out a Google form and it pulls it out as a sheet. But now I have all of these needs that the teachers filled out. And I'm like, I don't know what commonalities they have. I don't want to go through all of the survey data. What you can do is you can create a prompt that says using the 3 instructional themes from that previous prompt, go through this Google Sheet, identify patterns, identify trends, identify data that shows me what the teachers need, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to say, looking at the 3 instructional themes that you just pulled out of my Google Drive, use the data in this spreadsheet to give me further insights on what my staff needs for PD. Okay. Now, this is called stacking a prompt. I'm in the same chat space. So see how I'm still in the same one that I started? Google will understand what you've already done previously and you can keep building on it. That's probably one of my biggest efficiency tips. This is just going through now to pull out data from that Google Sheet. Now, I am not modeling this 80-20 rule very well, I will be honest. I'm just throwing it out there. In between each of these steps, I would suggest every time to double check what it is you're doing. All right, so it did pull from Insights. It did say that 4th grade is having the biggest issue with rigor and engagement. It tells me that the PD format should be differentiated because these teachers, Salazar, Yoon, and Garcia, want to see things in action. Lopez wants a strategy lab. Romero just wants to learn about doing data. So do you see how it pulled out all of the information from those specific teachers? Now it says, here's some recommendations, is teach them how to do the small groups, do rigorous questioning, do that kind of stuff. The other thing that you can do in Google Gemini is you can use something called Canvas. Now, Canvas is something that allows people to code inside Google Gemini, which is kind of cool, but it also allows you to export to certain things. It'll allow you to export out to a document. It'll allow you to export out to an infographic. So if you want to try out Canvas, I don't want to break our cycle from today. Down here, do you see on the bottom of the Google answer or prompt answer, I guess, there's this thing that says share and export. I can export this out to a Google Doc. I can open up here Google Docs and it'll say open docs and voila. The next thing, you can generate emails inside your Google Gemini. See how it's here where it has this information? Great, Gemini. Now I need a plan for my next staff meeting. I can't share all this information. Let's narrow it down. One main idea that could be a great staff PD session. Okay, so you don't have to tie it into anything. You don't have to upload anything. Google Gemini can just be there to help you be a thought partner. Based on the data, where 71% of our staff expressed a need for support with small groups. We're going to have structuring small groups for success. It's going to give me materials for how to do that and an idea. It gave me an agenda. Go to share and draft out an email that goes with that information, and it'll pop out to an email, and I'll have it right here where I can send this to all of the people. It'll automatically tie it into my email. Now, this is different if I put at Gmail. Once I create this, I can say summarize all the, you know how you always have an email thread where people keep putting like, I like this time, I like this, I think that's a great idea, I hate you, you know, those types of things. So you're going to say summarize all the emails, the coaching cycles, and it's going to search and crawl through my email and give me all of those responses. So Gmail has two different things it can do, and I put that in here, that it can draft in an email, or you can use the @ symbol to track the emails that you've created. So there's two different ways that it functions with emails. And now the next step is we're going to use Google Calendar to create a Google Calendar event from within Google Gemini. You can go to @Google Calendar. My staff wants a session about this CD event, and you create it on a time I am free this week. Include the description. Here is event created Tuesday, November 25th from 3:30 to 4:30. I should have told it what time to not do. It has objectives. By the end of this meeting, every teacher will leave with a drafted rotation schedule. We're going to have an agenda. We're going to talk about a make and take session. And it just built this whole thing out for me. The last thing I'm going to do is Google now ties into Google Slides. The thing is, I've learned that with Google Slides, the best prompt that you put in, it does a lot better when you're very, very specific. It doesn't have an @ button. You just have to put it in your prompts, and at the very end say export the deck to Google Slides. I'm going to paste in that very large Google Slide one that I want an 8 to 10 Google Slides presentation. I want it to kind of have these colors. It does good and bad on that. I want white space. I want 3 to 5 bullets. I want to have some think, pair, share. I want it to be exported to a slide deck. Okay, so once you add in that huge prompt, the biggest thing is you have to make sure that you have export it out to Google Slides. It will build it out in a Google Slide deck format. What you're going to notice is there's now a button that says open. Inside this button, and you can go here and keep rewriting it or editing things here if you would like. I'm going to go through here and show you that it actually created, I wanted it really plain because I was hoping it would go faster, but you can add in your prompt, adding images or adding specific elements into this. But it's a nice starting point that you can export out to Google Slides here, and then that will open in a new tab where you can edit all of the slides to your liking. But it does note taking. You can do staff communication. You can add in a bunch of different documents and ask it to summarize it for it. You can take all of your walkthroughs that are handwritten notes and you can upload them and it will read them and retype them for you. You can do coaching logs. That is Google Gemini tied into Google Workspace. That Google Gemini also have is something called gems. Here on the side of Google Gemini, you go here to explore gems. Gems are when you create something that is repetitive that you do all the time. So over here, you can create a new gem. And when you create a new gem, this is what it looks like. And here's the most important step for a gem. You need to name it. So I have like a coaching practice gem is when I name this one. You give it instructions. So I wanted to say like, I am a teacher. I want to practice coaching. Once you put in the instructions, you have to, for the best use of it, do this little button. So there's this like little edit button with a Gemini icon. It will rewrite everything in the right structure and format. It basically rewrites your prompt. So it's a perfect prompt. Once it's all done, it's going to save here on the side of your gem. And then it looks very, very similar to Google Gemini. And I can type in a prompt and ask it a question if I would like. And say I want to practice coaching. And as it processes, it's going to analyze that in context to what we had put into the instructions already. To see how it's putting it in the context of a practice session. So I'm going to say I want a scenario with a teacher who is struggling with their math content. Is now it's pulling from the job description that I had put into as a reference, and then it's going to put in a scenario. Now, once you have it used, this gem, it's going to save any of the recent prompts that you've already put in, and then you can basically refresh that entire system the next time you do it, or click here and go back to ones that you've already done. It is available here in that slide deck still. It has all of the information about a gem and how I built that out, how to share a gem now, and here are some other ideas for ways you can use Google Gems. So that is the Google Gemini portion of this session. I'm going to be doing a Notebook LM quick overview here in a second, and I think I'm going to put that in a separate video.